Welcome to our three-part series, all about developing web parts using React hooks in real time. What do I mean by real time? Many of you have appreciated the SharePoint Framework for Beginners series that we did, but some have commented that it moved too fast. For this one, I wanted to do it in real time to see how we implement a web part and how we develop it from a customer specification. Now, the customer has given me this remit. We enjoyed your demo you did in episode 20. Could you extend it a little bit so that we can record the document title and we can use it for putting alongside a file viewer web part, and then we can decide, has the user read the policy or not? So that's fine, and that's what we're going to build now. However, first we need to design it. So what do I do when I'm asked something like this? Well, I sketch it out on a bit of paper, and here it is. I visualize the file. I've visualized the web part with a message and a checkbox. I've got a list that sits behind it, and we've got various properties for capturing the message I'm going to display, the message on the checkbox label, and the message when somebody's read a document. Also things like the context, web part context, and the theme I need to pass through for section changes. So with this rough design, we're going to go ahead and we're going to build the web part in real time. So I've split it into 3 episodes. The first one, we're going to look at installing the development environment in real time, going to look at scaffolding the web part in real time, and then starting off with a few minor things we do to test that the scaffolded web part is working. In part 2, we're going to refactor this into React hooks. We're going to look at using the state and implementing theme changes. And in episode 3, we're going to read and write to a SharePoint list, and then we're going to test our web part. So I hope you enjoy the journey. Let's get straight in developing a web part in React hooks in real time. Let's dive straight in. So the first thing we need to do is check that we've got Node installed. Now, on this development PC, I think I do. Yeah, if not, see episode 20, how to install that. I've created a folder called source, and I've also created a folder for my solution, which is called read receipt. So you'd need to create your folders first and navigate to that folder. So let's have a look. It's completely blank. Now, I haven't got my development environment installed on this Windows instance. If I type yo, it'll give me an error. So the first thing I need to do is install gulp task runner globally. So as I say, have a look at some earlier videos on how to do this. I'm going to let this run now, and we'll see how we get on. If there's a moment of silence here, I'll put some nice background music on while you watch this install in real time. Excellent, so that's installed. The next thing I want to do is install Yeoman. Just out of note, you could do --G there for global as well, and it would recognize that. Likewise, you can use I for install. We'll do that on the next package that we install. Fantastic, that's Yeoman installed. The last thing we want to do is install the Microsoft packages. Now, the way we do that for Yeoman, install the Microsoft packages, is npm, I'm going to use I for install this time, and it's Microsoft /generator SharePoint --G. So again, just using some shortcuts, illustrating the shortcuts you can use. So we've installed the gulp task runner, we've installed the Yeoman generator, and now we're installing a template for Yeoman generator for SharePoint Framework. Fantastic. So we're all set up. I'm going to check my Node version again. Excellent. So in theory, let's have a look. With nothing in here, I can type yo. And then I can type in here, I'll choose Microsoft Generator. And I'm going to call it read receipt. SharePoint Online only. I'll use the current folder. Do I want it to be able to be deployed across the whole tenancy? I'm going to say yes in this case. Will they require permissions? No. I'm doing a web part and I'm going to call the web part read receipt web part. Make sure I've spelt that correctly. And a description, record when a user has read a document. I'm going to do React for this demonstration, mainly because I'm using React controls that are available. So I would really encourage you learn React if you haven't done already. Okay. So we'll let that install. So at this point it's scaffolding. You'll get a lot of warnings, but don't worry about that because none of these packages are wrapped up with the deployed web part. It uses ones which are deployed on the SharePoint server environment, so you don't need to worry about local security warnings. Fantastic. So we've scaffolded our web part. If I have a look in the folder now, you'll see we've got lots and lots of code. So I want to change some things before we run it for the first time. So I'm going to go into Visual Studio Code. Yes, I trust the authors, of course, seeing as I'm the author. And there is our package. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close the command window behind there. And there we have our Visual Studio Code. Let's maximize that up. Okay, so one of the first things I want to do is to change the config file and the serve.json. And you'll see that it goes to the local workbench to run its initial page. I want to change this to my online one. See episode 21 for setting up an online development environment, but let me just change this and set it to the correct version. So the initial page I want to set it up to is going to be the workbench.aspx one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that out and I'm going to type in HTTPS. In my case, it's Robert's Dev Talk, but you'll have a different environment, .sharepoint.com/_layouts workbench.aspx. This is where it's going to run. Now I'm going to prove that by doing terminal, new terminal, and I'm going to do a gulp build. Now at this point, it should build without any errors. So we'll sit patiently and let it do its first build. Excellent. Now in order to run, to communicate between your local computer and the online one, it needs to have a trusted certificate set up. Now that's quite easy to do and it's a one-off task on your environment when you do it, but essentially you need to type gulp trust dev cert. And this will now prompt you with a number of security alerts. Or not, in this case. I think it's because I've run it on this environment before. If not, have a look at episode 20, where it will show you the prompts that come along. Anyway, let's try gulp serve to run our web part. So, now you can see that this is loaded up correctly, and I can choose my web part, and I can look in here for read receipt, and there it is, read receipt web part. When I put it in there, welcome to SharePoint. Okay, so excellent. I'm going to close that down now, and I'm going to break into this. I think I'll set up autosave already, yeah, so I've got that in there. So I'll not be saving throughout this, but make sure you save your code. I'm going to terminate that batch job, yes. So we know that everything is working, so now we're ready to build our web part, finally. Okay, let's have a look at some of these things. So we've set up our configuration for running it on our environment. Yours will obviously be something else, .sharepoint.com. So what else do I want to do while I'm here actually? I want to look at the package solution file. And if I look into the package solution file, let's have a look. It's read receipt.package. Yeah, I'm happy with that name. But and I'm happy with all the other settings in there. Let's have a look. We've got a solution in there. Yeah, that's all okay. Excellent. So the first thing I want to look at is in the source folder and into web parts, and I want to open up this file, the webpart manifest.json, and I want to change a few things in here. Okay, so the first thing I want to change in this module is that I want to support themes. This is very important because later we're going to put a theme in our web part, so it changes when the section color changes, but you need to put this important line in here at the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to put supports theme variants as true. Okay, I'll just line that up a little bit. Okay, so we're supporting the theme variants. What else do we see in here? We've got the title. Well, I'm going to change that to something a bit nicer. Read receipt. That'll look a bit nicer when it comes on the screen. And we've got a default development description value there. Now for the Office Fabric name, and again, if you see in episode 20, you'll see that we go through choosing this, but I'm going to find one using the Fluent UI area, and I'm going to replace that with document approval and get rid of that. So document approval is a nice icon to use on there. Okay, what else are we going to set in here? I think that will do for now. We're just going to support it as a web part. We could do Teams. There's an earlier episode on Teams that you'd like if you want to see that. Well, it'll show you all through that. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to set. Now I want to go to my component and I want to look at the properties that we're going in here. And it's got a default one called description. But actually I want to choose all the ones from our spec. So if you remember from our specification at the beginning, so the first one I'm going to do is I want to record the document title, not the ID, but the title. So we can keep it very kind of ad hoc, just, you know, the HR policy, fire and safety policy, health and safety even, that kind of thing. Okay, so the first thing I want to add here is a document title. This will store the title of our document. Then I also want to store the current user's display name. This will be the unique way of identifying it in the list. So we're going to store the document title and the created by in order to find out who that user is, to find out whether you've already clicked, whether you've read the document or not. Now we need to have a list that's going to store all of our receipts, and that's going to be called storage list is the property I'm going to use in that. Then I want to have a label which is going to basically contain the value of the text that I want to show before somebody acknowledges. So what are we going to say to the people? So that's the label that's going to go on the acknowledgement, on the checkbox. Then I want one for the actual message that we're going to display in the body. So it will say blah, 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 checkbox with a label in there. Then I want to have a message that's displayed when somebody's already read the message. So I'm going to put that in there as well. So read message. Okay. Now I want a couple of other items that I want to pass through to see the current status of things like themes and things like that. So in order to use themes, I'm going to have to import the theme library from the SharePoint Framework. So I'm just going to put that up here, and that will be to import the iRead-only theme, and we're going to import that from the component base library. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to bring in. It's immediately saying, do I want to remove it? Because I haven't used it yet. Patience, please, SharePoint. Then what I need to do is put a reference to our theme variant that we're going to use in there. There's earlier episodes, especially on 20, all about theming, and I've got another video all about putting themes on your web parts as well. That's nice. Okay, I also want to have a little Boolean property just to say whether the web part is being configured or not, whether I've chosen a list. And then finally, I want to pass in the web part context. Okay, so we can get values, and that includes things like users, current users, and other things about the page that we're on. So I'm going to put that in. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to have to import from SharePoint Framework again, and in this case, I'm importing the web part context, and it imports it from Microsoft web part base. There we are. And of course, I need to put a property to it just to pass the context through to my web part. Always a good idea with all of your web parts, I think, to actually import these in. Okay, so there we are. I just copied that from another web part. So we've got the context coming in. Okay, that's worked out all right. Now, one of the first things I do is I clear out all the default styles. Okay, but so what we're going to do is we're going to go in there and we'll go to the SAS module, and it's got all of these in here, which is very helpful. And you might be big into your SAS stuff, so you may want to put a lot of effort into configuring it here. But personally, I prefer to use a kind of out-of-the-box theming. Maybe I'll do another video at some point on using styles heavily with your SharePoint web parts. Who knows? If you join our Patreon, you can have a vote on that and let us know. Okay, so I'm going to go in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all of these styles. I think get rid of all the default styles. I don't want those there. How's that looking? Okay. Now I'll get rid of those as well. All right, so we've got a blank style. Now the error will say you cannot have an empty rule set. So I always just put a default color in there just to be sure, really. Let's put a black. Okay. So that I'm clearing that out now for no other reason than I prefer to get rid of all the heavy styles in there and use the ones which kind of come with the React components. But we'll have a look at that in a bit. So what else do we need to do? Well, we've set up the manifest file. So now we need to concentrate on the main TS file. Okay. So there's a number of things that I'm going to do in here. It's scaffolded all these for us. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to start using the patterns and practices libraries, PMP. Now, again, in episode 20, it goes into detail about these, but I'm going to install these now. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to do npm install, and I'm going to put pnp sp, and this will allow me to cleanly and in a nice way read and write from SharePoint lists, among other things, but it's a really cool library for doing that. Now, while it's doing that, there's also another library, which are some property controls that have been created by the Patterns and Practices group as well. So I'm going to install those in a moment when this has finished installing. Excellent, so it's installed those in there as well. So that's for the SharePoint reading. I'm also going to install the property controls as well. I'll put the links down below for all these so you can see what they all do, but I'm going to do npm install pmp SPFx property controls as well. Actually, I'm going to do --save. I didn't do that on the last one, did I? So I'll check the package.json to make sure it's saved everything for us while that's installing. Let's have a look. Package.json. Yeah, it did. Okay. Anyway, maybe we don't need to worry about that. But --save anyway will save the version in there. Now, when this is finished, I'm going to do a gulp build again to make sure that works. There is actually one more package I want to install, which is the controls that we're going to use in the TSX file. So I'm just going to have a check what they are as well, which is the SPFx controls React, and this will make life a lot easier for you when you're working. It's got some nice kind of placeholder controls and things like that as well. So once this is finished loading, I'll install that for us to have a look at. Okay, excellent. So the last package I want to install is, I'm just going to go use up arrow, and I'm just going to change that, and we're going to change it to SPFx controls React. Excellent. Now we've installed those packages, I'm just going to do a gulp build just to make sure everything's okay. Okay, and the errors I'm getting are because of the properties which we haven't done any work with yet. Okay, fantastic. So let's have a look at that as we start wiring everything up. Okay, so let's have a look first at our TS file. So we need to import a few things from here. The first thing we need to do is we need to import our SP library from PMP. So let's put that in there by typing import SP from PMP SP presets all. That will include everything that SP offers for reading lists and everything like that. Now, for the property controls, we're going to need the list picker, and along with that, we're going to need the ordering for that list picker. I don't know why this pops up. If anybody can tell me, that would be great in the comments. But anyway, let's type this in: import property field list picker and property field list picker order by, and we're going to install those from PMP SPFx property controls. Let's scroll that along so you can see, typing there, the field list picker, and we've got those set up ready for us now. Well, I hope you enjoyed episode 1. Join us next time where we're going to look at React hooks using the state and section theme changes.
If you've enjoyed this video, then please do give us a like, and if you like this kind of content, then do make sure you subscribe and ring that bell icon so you never miss out on a video.
And if you want to join us on our developer journey, see the link below, and if you're feeling generous, buy us a coffee.
Thank you so much for watching, thanks for your time, happy coding, we'll see you next time.